Predaking. Now, when we did our HasCon slideshow leak, we were shown this. We made our predictions all the way back then.
We were shown a silhouette.
Yeah, and we were pretty much saying, you know what, this is going to be Voyagers. You know, this is going to be huge. This is going to be like Devastator, and we were right. You know, some things the writing is just on the wall. And this was the case. We were right, and ultimately in the end, we are going to get this giant box set, Power of the Primes, Titan class, just like Devastator, Predaking. Now, there's some stuff that, even that slideshow that we had years ago, that totally went over our head. Totally went over. In the slideshow, it mentioned how it comes with the Enigma of combination, and we didn't really think much of it, but yes, it does. It actually comes. And I'll tell you one thing. This proves that everything we had from those slideshows was completely accurate. Everything. So wherever the origin of those slideshows were, all those months back when HasCon was rolling around, whoever that guy was it John Stockter or whatever was in the background there, that name?
Oh, yeah.
Like, whoever that was, you know, he definitely leaked very important information. But so here we are. We got Predaking. Tons of images online now. It shows the combined mode, the individual robot modes, and how his gimmicks work. One thing that people did not talk about, and I found this fascinating, I kind of kept it to myself, and I figured I was going to save it for the podcast, was that if you actually look very carefully at the control, I think I'm going to post an image in the actual segment here. If you look very carefully at Predaking's head, and if you look at Razorclaw's lion head in beast mode, if you look very carefully at the sides of his lion face, like just right where his mane starts next to the face of the lion head, you could see the Matrix handles.
Yeah, poking out from the side of the head.
But what's kind of cool about that is because when he's in Predaking mode, that means his chest is going to probably open up and reveal that matrix, which again, that's the Enigma of combination in this case, which uses Onyx Primal as the centerpiece there. And for people who don't know who Onyx Primal is, or Onyx Prime to some people, that was the original Prime that was related to the beasts. And he actually had a connection to Predaking in the Transformers Prime continuity, because it was related to the evolution of the beasts and stuff. So it's interesting how they kind of go full circle and lead all of that together with this character. So he's going to come with, and there's images of it also with what that matrix looks like and the little Prime Master and stuff. So that's really cool too. And we also have the box that's kicking around somewhere. There was images of the boxes that were also shown online. I don't have them right now at the moment. I'll definitely try to post as much as I can in the little thumbnail. But definitely, this thing looks incredible. The one complaint that I was seeing online that some people were saying was they're not a fan of all the stickers that are being used on it, specifically on the wings and stuff. But that seems to be kind of the new thing now with the recent stuff. There's been a lot of sticker use on a lot of figures. I think it's because it's cheaper than using tampograph.
Yeah.
So if a big character like that, if using stickers is cheaper than using tampograph, and it keeps the cost down, or it keeps the plastic, parts up, like imagine if it said, okay, we'll tampograph everything, but we got to get rid of,
articulation.
Articulation. Well, one thing that's very cool, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but Wonderfest also has here at Toy Fair, they have the final product here on display. Wonderfest in Japan right now has the prototype on display. But what's cool about the prototype, because it's a prototype, you could see all the details a lot better. It proves that in combined mode, he has a waist swivel.
Ooh,
So
nice.
which is very, very, very rare for a combiner to have. And when I mean very rare, I'm looking at my collection and I'm trying to see one that has it. Oh boy, I don't know. Not even Road Caesar. Point is, that's a rare thing. So I mean, and that's something that's going to make it very good for posing and articulation, especially when you have like a big character like that who has a sword and everything. That's a big, cool thing to have. So I'm like, when we're going to get to the Wonderfest discussion, I'll post those images of all the gray prototypes, and you'll see all the little articulation will be a lot more apparent with a gray prototype that lets the details really pop out, and all the little cuts for articulation. But what I'm getting at is, imagine they'll be like, okay, we'll have everything tempographed, but now you're going to lose that. You're going to lose the waist swivel. Maybe you're going to lose the articulation in certain elbow joints, or maybe it won't be a double joint. So you want to be able to have that balance and still let it be affordable. And it always goes to that point where it's like, no, well, I want to have my cake and eat it too. Well, if you have your cake and eat it too, it's going to be more expensive. If it's going to be more expensive, you might as well maybe get a third-party product that'll fulfill your need. Might I suggest Feral Rex, which came out, geez, how many years ago? You know, you might find.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this point, it's just that's one example, you know. And when we get to the individual robots, if you messed with Combiner Wars Devastator, you're probably going to get the same experience here. Maybe a little better experience from what I'm seeing here, but probably the same experience that you got with Combiner Wars Devastator, which these are blocky Voyagers, essentially, from, you know, the whole crew from Razorclaw, Tantrum, Headstrong, Divebomb, and Rampage. But they look great. I mean, when you consider the fact what the original G1 toys were, and they were very simplistic, you know, all those years ago, exactly 31 years ago, it was a different story. And this mold, the original G1 mold, got reissued, I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was one of those year of reissues. I forget which.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, even in the modern day, kind of got an opportunity to mess with that old toy, and you got to see, like, you know, it was what it was. It was the biggest of the combiners at that time. Like, Predaking was massive compared to all the other combiners at the time, compared to Superion and all of them. So it's almost appropriate that he also be another one of these Titan class combiners instead of being more along the lines of all the other combiners that we've gotten thus far from, say, Combiner Wars. So he fits in to stand next to your Devastator. But that being said, he's those Voyagers in a box set. So the individual robot modes, while they look very good, they do have a bit of a blockiness to them, but definitely a step above of anything that G1 has done at this point. But considering that this box set is going to probably also be in that same price range as Devastator, I'm not complaining. You know what I mean? I'm not complaining. And again, unlike Devastator, I feel like we're getting more here. Right. I feel like there's a lot more articulation. There's a lot more individuality with these characters as opposed to Devastator that was really blocky. Having Onyx Prime or Primal, the little Enigma of Combination gimmick, that's a nice little touch too, to have that. I think it's almost sad because there's a lot of individual personality going on here with the with the individual robots, but we're going to all display it combined. So
unless we're crazy and we buy two.
Or yeah, unless we buy two, which, you know, maybe if down the line, if I manage to get a second one really cheap, that might be the case. I just want to also address another thing too. A lot of the photos of Divebomb that have been surfacing, I know Jaws D pointed this out to me. It looks like his robot mode doesn't have a unique robotic head. It kind of looks like his eagle head just folds down and becomes the robotic head. That was just a transformation mistake by Hasbro. It actually does open up, and there's some images that kind of you could see the red Divebomb robotic face, but it's just, it was a mistransfer.
You have to look right underneath the beak, and you'll see the red face there.
It's there. It's just, I don't know, one of the Hasbro reps, they kind of made a mistake, and they transformed him and left the eagle head.
Because you're kind of seeing a little bit with the bull one. I forgot his name.
Tantrum.
Tantrum, like his robot mode, his head's kind of like up a bit.
Yeah.
And they didn't push the head all the way down. But you know,
I'm pretty sure. They were rushed to transform everything.
Exactly.
Because
it's completely understandable.
This display, it had to have Predaking completely transformed, and then have each individual limb in both alt mode and robot mode. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, consider, and this is a busy display.
Oh, okay, so I'm looking at the two images here, right, on TFW 2005. And so the first one you see, it's almost like the beak is completely closed, and if you go to the second picture, it's like someone realized the mistake and tried to move the head open to get it open.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's not done completely. I guess again, maybe they're just there's so many people taking photos and stuff. They were just like, oh, just get it to look nice, but it looks great. The articulation looks really good for what it is. It's what I would expect a modern engineered Predaking to be like. Everyone, I can't, I don't want to say I can't stand, but I can't always have that sentiment when people say, well, third party did this.
Yeah.
But third, like, again, how much is a Feral Rex? With all the parts, all the pieces, and most importantly, no safety regulations. And I'm not saying like, oh no, like I don't, I want my toys to be safe, but it's just there's a lot of things that third-party toys have an advantage of that make them the better toy that the official product can't possess, unless it's a masterpiece price point. But if there was a masterpiece price point Predaking, you're going to be paying that $600 price range that a Feral Rex would give you. Back in the day when Feral Rex individual limbs were costing you almost $100 a piece before you reach that final combination. So it is what it is. In the same way that when you got your Combiner Wars Devastator, you made your decision to keep your Hercules or what was the other version?
Giant.
Giant. Thank you.
No
if you decided to keep those, or if this made you satisfied and you were happy to have this as your product. But I mean, like I always say, ultimately in the end, you have options, and I'm pretty sure third party's going to come around and add little pieces too on top of that if you want to. But I'm pretty satisfied with what I see. And I mean, there's very little here that I would change. There was a lot of things I'd change with a lot of other stuff I've seen thus far. But with this one, I mean, within the parameters of what is expected of the price point and what is to be done, I mean, even with the little Matrix gimmick, I'm happy. I'm very happy with this. And Predaking's a big mofo, so he belongs in this price point.
I know for me that I haven't been super gung-ho about the vehicle-looking combiner teams, but I don't know. This one's really doing it for me. This one I'm really digging. I'm digging the animals on it and how they look all together at the end of it. And I don't know. I'm like looking at how the joints are and at how articulated he is, and I can't imagine how big he's going to be.
Yeah,
like how big was Devastator?
I'm imagining it's going to be a Devastator kind of region, if you will.
Right.
For sure.
Oof. That's going to be amazing. And because we're also seeing something else here that has the whole combiner team too, and it's more animal based. And I don't know. I'm just digging their silhouettes a bit more. I'm just digging what they have to offer.
Well, I guess maybe we'll get into that other combiner team right now.